Scanning for audio.
Hello, and here's a quick word from Whoverville&nbsp. Now, normally I do a bit of a recording beforehand, but as I'd set the recorder wrong, I couldn't actually record anything in the car. I did talk for a few minutes, and then I realised that, well, it wasn't actually recording, my batteries were on the way out. So that's fine, I'm here again now. This year at Whoverville, things are going to be mixed up a little bit. The podcasting panel isn't going to consist of a few people, a few different podcasters interviewing one person at a time, where we can bombard them with questions. They're going to try something new, something different, and we're going to be in Screen 2. Screen 2 is a very small cinema with a very small stage, but it is an auditorium that could take about 100 and 150 people. On this tiny stage will be some small chairs, and some podcasters will be at one end, and the guests will be at the others. And the mix-up this year is that we're going to be interviewing people in groups, in batches, mixing it up a little bit. The first interview will be with Sinead Michael, Lauren Wilson, Daniel and David Beck. Now, for those of you who don't know, they're the people who were, well, the twins are the people from the Cube Face episode with lots of the makeup on. It's the girl who played Sarah Jane's daughter in Sarah Jane Smith Adventures, and of course the red balloon girl from Family of Blood. That's the first panel. That's the one that I was originally going to be on. The second panel is Michael Troughton, Derrick Sherwin and Deborah Watling all together on stage together. Now, I wasn't meant to be involved in that one, but somebody dropped out and they asked me to help with that one as well, so I'm also interviewing on that one. The third interview I'm not involved with. That's Peter Davison, Terry Molloy and Dominic Glynn, all on the same panel, being interviewed by two particularly good podcasters. But Tim didn't really have many questions with him, so I gave him my questions for that. Finally is the panel with just Bob Baker. There'll be me and some other podcasters interviewing the man who created K9. Looking forward to that one. So out of the 4 interviews on stage, I was on stage for 3 of them, all of which will be appearing over the next couple of weeks on this feed and, of course, other Doctor Who Podcast Alliance podcasts. These shows are available to anyone, but I had a great time, and I must admit I'd love to thank Steve Hatcher for organising the whole thing. I can't wait for next year's. I had a thoroughly marvellous time, and I think, well, everyone else did. It was brilliant getting to meet Peter Davison and Michael Troughton, in fact, everyone who was there, and it was absolutely fantastic meeting all the other podcasters. There was one podcaster from the Alhambra podcast who I'd never heard of and never met, and a short interview with him, well, that'll be up next, where he explains all about his interesting take on Doctor Who, and something that I think might interest you. You might want to give it a go. So I'll be back in a few days' time with more reviews of Doctor Who stuff, and of course more interviews from Whoverville&nbsp. Be seeing you. Welcome to a very quick Tin Dog podcast. I'm at Whoverville 7, is it now? I think it is 6. Yes, Whoverville 6, just checking. Definitely Whoverville 6. Chatting with
Liam from the Alhambra Audio podcast.
And you might not know this, I'm talking to the listener here, obviously I'm talking to Liam, that what this podcast is and why it's different from many of the others. So Liam just wants to give a bit of a chat about that. So what is your current podcast?
The current podcast is the Alhambra Audio podcast, and it's basically reviewing all the Big Finish releases generally, and myself and a friend, Twitter handle Maverick Chen, have started to review the classic range, but I'm myself blind, so what we tend to do is we're going to review the episodes and get my views on the episodes, because I've never been able to see the visuals. And then what Cam does is he turns the picture off and watches the episode and reviews it, and then we sort of get our thoughts about the episode.
So it's Doctor Who from a completely new perspective.
Yeah.
So there isn't another podcast like this out there?
No.
Well, I'm sure some people will be interested. So just again for the listeners, where can they track this down about?
It's on iTunes if you search for Alhambra Audio, AL.
Well, it's a lamp.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be able to find it. So good luck with the show, and I'll speak to you very soon, and I'm sure we'll be listening in. So thanks very much for talking.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its connected properties are copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. To contact the show, email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. Whostrology, a Time Traveller's Almanac, is available through Telos Publishing or Amazon. Visit www.whostrology.com for further information. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.